Hi. So hello, my name is Miss Samuel, and today we will be going through the process of creating an FSA ID. So as you'll notice, this is labeled FAFSA Workshop Part 1, and the FSA ID is the first step in completing your FAFSA. We'll go in a little bit into what the FSA ID, but before we do that, I wanted to introduce myself. I am new to the Scholarship Fund of Alexandria, and I'm joining the team as the Director of College Advising, and will be supporting both Mr. Waters and Ms. Harrington in ensuring that you're able to apply for colleges and apply for financial aid. One thing that I do want to note is that as this presentation is going on, you can use the Q&A function to answer ask any questions that you might have about the presentation. Both Ms. Harrington, Mr. Waters, and a representative from Northern Virginia Community College will be in the chat answering your questions as you go along. Another thing to note is we do ask that you be patient as we go through these slides. We will be going through the process of creating an FSA ID slide by slide. And we know that everyone is operating at different paces, so just be patient with us as we work through these slides. If you do need interpretation, you can click the globe at the bottom of your screen. We have interpreters translating this presentation into Spanish, Amharic, and Arabic. So what is the FSA ID? The FSA ID is a username and password that you will use every year to fill out the FAFSA. It is also something that you will use later on down the line to complete federal student loan counseling and manage your student loans. Students must create an FSA ID in order to electronically complete and submit their FAFSA. If eligible, a parent must also create an FSA ID. And we'll go into a little bit about what eligibility looks like for parents. If a parent does not have a social security number, they will not be able to create an FSA ID, but that is fine because they can still sign the FAFSA using a printed out copy of the FAFSA. So who is eligible for the FAFSA? Students who are eligible to complete the FAFSA include U.S. citizens and what the Department of Education refers to as eligible non-citizens. This can include permanent residents, students who have arrival departure records, who list them as refugees, asylum granted, parolee, T visa holder, Cuban, Haitian entrant, or a conditional entrant. This also includes citizens of the Republic of Palau, the Republic of Marshall Islands, or the Federated States of Micronesia. Students who are not eligible to complete the FAFSA electronically include students who are in the States on a student visa, on an exchange visitor visa, a diplomat visa, or students who are undocumented, or students who are also on any category that is not listed on the categories to the left. Now, just because you cannot complete the FAFSA electronically does not mean that you cannot receive aid. If you are in one of these categories, please reach out to the Scholarship Fund of Alexandria so we can counsel you on ways that you can finance your college education. So before we begin, in order to create an FSA ID, you're going to need your social security number, your own phone number, or personal email address, as well as the phone number and email address of a parent. As stated earlier, there is both the student FSA ID and the parent FSA ID. When you're creating your student FSA ID, you do not want to use the phone number or email address that you will use for your parents' FSA ID. So at this moment, we ask that you open up a browser and go to this website to start. So the website is fsaid.ed.gov. Again, that is fsaid.ed.gov. And I'll just pause for a second for you to get the website
Pasamos un
loaded.
segundito para que usted navegue con otro navegante a este enlace.
Okay. So when you scroll down, you should see a screen that looks like this.
Una pantalla que se parece a esta.
The screen is asking you to create an FSA ID username. For your username, you're going to want to select a username that is between 6 to 30 characters. It should contain a combination of letters and numbers. Please note that the FSA ID username is not case sensitive. Your username should not contain your first, middle, or last name, your birth date, or your social security number. If it states that your username is taken, try a different username. Once your username is available, you will see the pop-up that you can see in the screen to the right stating that your username is available.
A la derecha dice, este nombre está disponible una vez obtenga uno que no esté en conflicto.
So the next step is creating an FSA ID password. Your password must be between 8 to 30 characters. For your password, it must contain a combination of numbers, uppercase letters, lowercase letters, special characters. It cannot contain your first, middle, or last name, your birth date, or your social security number. And similarly to the username, once you enter in your password, it will let you know if you have met the criteria or if you have not met the criteria. If you have not met the criteria for the password, just erase and try to create a new password that does meet the criteria. When you are creating your FSA ID username and password, you will see an option to show text. If you select that box, you will be able to see your password to make sure that it is exactly what you want it to be. This is important because this screen is also important because you want to take a screenshot of your username and password. As mentioned before, this is information that you will need year after year and multiple times throughout this school year. So I want to give you the opportunity to either take a screenshot of this username and password, write it down, or take a photo. Again, this is information that is important for you to have. So please do take a screenshot. So you do not lose this information. I'm just going to give you all a second to take that screenshot before moving on. So once you enter in your username and password successfully, you will be directed to the screen that you see on the right. Here, you're going to want to enter in your full legal name exactly as it appears on your social security card. You also are going to want to enter in your date of birth using the format provided below, as well as a social security number or alien registration number.
Samuel, this is Ms. Harrington. I just want to interrupt for 1 second. When students are entering their name, if your name is too long, just enter as many characters that will fit. We know lots of families have hyphenated last names and long half names. Enter as many characters that will fit.
Y algunos caracteres no caben. Entre todos los caracteres que quepan,
yes, thank you, Ms. Harrington.
No importa que sea truncado, pero suficiente para identificarlo usted únicamente. Gracias, Ms. Harrington.
Okay, so I'm going to progress to the next screen. So it is possible that some of you may get a screen that looks like this. This is a screen that it's more likely that parents will come across. And it's for people who already have an existing FSA ID. So I'm going to take a second to address people with these screen. If you encounter the red error message below, you likely already have an FSA ID. You might have created one for
Tal vez creo
yourself
uno para
a few
usted
years ago if you
mismo
were
hace un
enrolled as a
tiempo atrás,
student,
si tú eras un
or perhaps
estudiante,
for
o tal
an
vez
older son or daughter
para
who
un hijo
has
mayor
already
o una hija
attended
mayor
school.
en el pasado.
In order to access your FSA
Para
ID,
tener
you're going to
acceso
click
al
on the
identificador
cancel
FSA,
button in the upper
cancelamos en
right-hand
la parte
corner.
derecha arriba, el botón cancelamos.
After that, you
Después
are
de
going to be
esto,
returned to
usted
the home
regresa
page of the
a la
FSA ID.
página hogar del
You're going to want to
FSA ID.
scroll down,
Va a
and instead of
bajar,
clicking
en vez
create
de
a new
crear
FSA
un
ID,
nuevo
you'll click
identificador,
manage my FSA ID.
voy a administrar
So you can
mi
try to
FSA
enter
ID.
in your username and
Entre
password if
su
you
nombre de
remember it.
usuario y su
If you
contraseña si la
don't,
recuerda. Si no
you can click
recuerda,
on the
puede
forgot my
decir,
username
se me
or
olvidó mi
forgot
nombre de
my
usuario, se me olvidó
password
mi contraseña,
links
uno o lo otro.
below.
Es para recobrar.
Once you do that, you will be
Una vez
taken
apriete
to a
esto,
screen.
una
You will
pantalla
have the
como esta,
option
la
to
opción
either
de
have a secure code
un
emailed to you,
código enviado por correo a
texted to
usted,
you,
por
or
texto,
answer your challenge
o responde
questions.
a preguntas retantes que
I
usted
do
creó cuando
recommend,
creó
if you can, to have that
las
code,
credenciales.
to recover that code via email or
Les
text, because those are
recomendamos
the
que
most
use
straightforward
código por
ways to do
correo o
that.
código por texto lo más
You will have to
fácil.
provide the
Tiene que
email address or phone
Tiene que
number that you
proveer
used when
el
you originally
teléfono o
created
el
the
correo
FSA ID.
electrónico originalmente cuando usted creó el
So once
identificador.
you're able to go through that
Una vez
process,
pase ese proceso,
you will be
tendrá
able to access your FSA ID
acceso
account.
a su
Now,
cuenta
for people
FSA.
who are creating a new
Ya
FSA
está
ID,
creando el
you
nuevo
should be
identificador.
on step 2, the
Usted
contact
está en el
information.
paso 2, donde entramos la información de
Here is where
contacto
you
para
will
los
enter
nuevos
in your
expedientes.
email
Usted va a
address.
entrar su correo electrónico
It is
personal.
very important that you enter
Importante
in
que usted
an email
entre
address,
un
enter
correo
in a personal
electrónico
email address.
personal. Esto es
So
importante.
students, your
Los
ACPS email
estudiantes,
will
su
not be
correo
available to
ACPS
you
no va a estar
after you
disponible
graduate,
después que usted
but
se
your
gradúe.
FAFSA, your FSA ID is
Pero
something
la
that you will
FAFSA y
use
el
for years after you
identificador es algo que
graduate.
usar años después que se de
So
escuela
you're going to want
superior.
to use a personal
Usted
email
quiere usar
address.
un
If
correo electrónico
you or
personal.
your parent do not have
Si
a
usted, su
personal
padre,
email
no quiere un
address,
correo
you can make one
personal,
using
haga ahora
Gmail,
usando
Yahoo,
Gmail,
AOL,
Yahoo,
or your preferred
AOL
email address provider.
o cualquiera de sus proveedores
You
de
also are
servicios
going to want
electrónicos de
to enter
correo.
in your
También
mailing address
su
and
correo
your phone
postal,
number.
dirección postal, su
You'll
teléfono.
notice under the place where it states mobile phone,
Bajo dice
there
el
is
teléfono
a
móvil.
checkbox
Hay una
listed
marquita
for you to receive
que usted
codes
reciba
from the FSA ID.
códigos de FSA
Strongly
ID.
recommend that you check
Recomiendo
that box
altamente que
off
usted marque
so that
esta
you can
cajita
easily
para que usted
recover your
fácilmente
username or
recupere
password in
los
case it is
credenciales en
lost.
caso de que se le olvide o se
And
pierda.
I'll give you a few seconds to fill
Unos
out that
segunditos
section.
para que completen esta parte del formulario.
So once you're done, you're going to want to select next,
Cuando
and you will
completamos,
be
apretamos
taken to
next o
step 3.
continuar. Y vamos al
These are
paso
the
número
challenge
3.
questions and
Las
answers.
preguntas retantes que establecemos
Again,
para el
this
expediente.
section is important
Esto es
because it allows
importante.
you
Le permite a
to
usted
recover your
recuperar
lost username or
sus
password in the
credenciales, su
instance that you do
usuario o
forget it.
su contraseña. En caso que se lo
Here, you're
olvide.
going to be asked
Aquí
to
le va a
select
hacer
from
que
4
seleccione
different questions. You're going to be
cuatro
asked to select 4
que
different
seleccione
questions
cuatro
and
diferentes
provide
preguntas
answers.
del número de preguntas y la
So here, you're
respuesta.
going to want to make sure that these questions are
Seleccione estas
questions that
preguntas
could not
con
easily be guessed
preguntas
by
que no sean
others.
fácilmente adivinables.
You also are going to want to choose
También
questions and answers that will
escoja
not
preguntas y
change.
respuestas.
As mentioned before, the FSA ID is something that you are going to be using from years on end.
Algo que no
So
va a
it's something
cambiar
that you
porque va a
want
ser
to
mucho tiempo usar su
remember
identificador.
3 or 4
Es
years down the line.
fácilmente recordar 3 o 4 años más tarde.
Once again, we recommend
Nuevamente
clicking Show
recomendamos
Text. The Show
que
Text
muestre
button
el texto.
exists below each question and
Debajo de
answer
cada
option.
respuesta,
If you click
apriete
Show
ese botoncito
Text,
para
not
usted
only
vea
are
lo
you
que
able to
usted puso en el
see the
teclado.
answers you provided to make sure that they are
Para que se
correct.
asegure que están
You can
correctas,
also take a screenshot of
tómele
everything
una
that is listed
foto a la pantalla de
and
todas
write
las
them down
preguntas y las respuestas.
just in
O
case you need to
escríbala
refer to them in the future.
para que se refiera en el
So this
futuro.
is a longer section, so I'm just going to
Esta
make
es
sure
un
I'm
poquito más
giving everyone
larga,
time
más
to
tiempo
record all of their questions
para
and
que
answers.
establezcan las 4 preguntas, las 4 respuestas y le tome una foto a las respuestas. Más tiempito.
All right, so I'm going to
Bien.
progress to the next slide.
Progresamos a la próxima sección.
So once you are finished with all of
Terminado
that,
con
you
todo
are
esto,
going to be directed to step 4.
va a completar el
Step
paso número
4
4.
is
Paso
where you
4,
will confirm and
se va a
verify the
confirmar y
information that
verificar
you
toda la
listed in
información
steps 1,
provista,
2, and
pasos
3.
1, 2 y 3.
You can use the arrows on the right hand
Usa
of the screen
la flecha de mano
to
derecha
expand
de la
all of the
pantalla
selections
para
and
que
view everything
expanda
that
las
you've written.
selecciones y vea toda la data que
You
usted
can
entró.
make changes
Puede
if
hacer
needed.
cambios si es necesario.
Once you are done
Una vez que
reviewing all of the
haya
information and
completado
everything
su
is correct,
revisión y esté todo
you are going to
correcto,
want to check the box
la
at the very
cajita
bottom
de abajo,
of
la
the
parte de
screen
abajo,
and then select continue.
y después continúo.
Again, I'm going to
Continuemos.
pause here to make sure that
Pausamos
everyone
para que
has
cada uno
time to
de
fill that
ustedes tenga
section out.
tiempo de revisar la data provista antes de continuar.
Okay. So once you select continue, you should be directed
continúo,
to a screen that looks like this.
Vamos a ver una pantalla como esta.
So your secure code has been sent to the email address that you listed in step 2. So here you are going to want to either open your personal email in a separate window or browser, or pull up your email on your phone. There should have been a verification code sent to you from the Department of Education. If you have not yet received it, you should wait a minute or two in order for the code to appear. You can also check your spam box just in case it landed there. If you have waited for a while and the code has not yet, and you have not yet received the code, what you can do is press the resend code at the very bottom of the FSA ID screen to try to have that code sent to you again. Again, the purpose of verifying your email address is to ensure that you are able to recover your username or password in case that information gets lost. So I'm going to pause for a second to make sure that everyone has time to complete that process.
Oportunidad de recibir y verificar que tienen un código seguro en correo electrónico.
Okay, so once you enter in the code and select next, you will be directed to a screen that looks like this. So if you're seeing this screen, your FSA ID has been created. You should also receive a confirmation email from the Department of Education stating that your FSA ID has been created. And then within the next 2 to 3 days, you should receive an email from the Social Security Administration that will either verify that your Social Security information is matched, or it will alert you to any problems with your Social Security number. If you do get an email alerting you to problems with your Social Security number, please do reach out to myself or any member of the Scholarship Fund of Alexandria so that we can assist you with this. So the next steps is signing up for step 2 of the workshop. Now that you and hopefully your parent has created an FSA ID, you are able to complete the FAFSA. So we have 3 different FAFSA workshops where we will actually be going through the actual application for federal student aid. One will take place this Thursday, and the other 2 are Wednesday, October 14th at 3:30 p.m. and Monday, October 19th at 11 a.m. You will receive a follow-up email with links for you to register for these FAFSA workshops. In order to fill out the FAFSA, you and your parent should bring the following information. Should bring your FSA ID, along with your parent's FSA ID, username, and password.
usuario y
should bring your
contraseña,
social security number
su
or
número
alien
social
registration
o un número de
number.
registración alien.
If your parent
Si su
does not
padre
have a
no
social
tiene
security
un número
number,
de seguro
but you
social,
do,
pero
your
que lo
parent
tiene,
is
estudiante,
still,
su padre,
your parent will just enter in
padre va a
9
entrar
zeros
9 ceros
when they are asked to provide their
cuando es
social
tiempo de
security
entrar al
number.
seguro social del
You will
padre.
still be able to complete your FAFSA.
Usted puede completar la FAFSA,
You
aun
also
cuando
are going
papá
to
o
want
mamá
to
no
bring
tengan número de
in
seguro
your
social. También
2019, 1040,
recibos
and W2s.
contributivos federales
So
del
your tax return forms.
2019 y también las formas de W2.
You
Para el
also are
padre,
going
así
to
que
want
para
to
el
make sure
estudiante
that you bring
también.
in student and parent 2019 untaxed income
Cualquier
records, if
expediente del
applicable.
2019
You also
de
are going to want to
ingresos
bring
no
in your
que no
family's
pagaron
current bank
contribuciones.
statements, business and
Tiene cuentas
investment records,
bancarias,
as
tiene
well as
inversiones de
information on
negocios,
date of births,
también fecha de
email
nacimiento,
addresses
correo
with passwords to make
electrónicos,
sure
con
that you can access those
contraseñas,
email addresses,
para tener acceso a sus correos
and
electrónicos,
mailing address information.
también
Samuel, I just got a
información
question
postal.
and I'd like to address that about parent
Una
information.
pregunta respecto a la información de los padres.
There is a checklist that we
Hay
are going
una
to be
lista
emailing
que vamos a darle
in your
correo
follow-up
electrónico
from this workshop
en el
that
seguimiento de
asks if
este
you're a
taller,
dependent or independent
que
student.
si es
If you
estudiante
answer
dependiente o
yes to any of
independiente.
those questions,
Sí, algunas de estas respuestas.
what it does, it tells
Lo
you
que implica
you
es
could file your
usted
FAFSA as
puede
an
someter una
independent student,
FAFSA como un
meaning you don't
estudiante
have to provide
independiente, que no hay
any
que
parent
proveer
information.
información de los padres.
The specific situation the person asked
Situación
about
específica.
is if the
Alguien
student
preguntó,
is
el
living without their
estudiante
parents,
está viendo si los
and it's
padres,
very specific.
y es bien
If parents are
específico,
deceased,
si los padres
a
están
child is a ward of the
muertos,
court,
el hijo
there's a whole
cuestión
checklist.
de la corte están
So we'll
envueltas,
send you that information.
le enviamos
And if you have any
información.
questions about that
Cualquier
information, you
pregunta
can reach out to
respecto a
Ms.
esta
Samuel,
información,
myself, Ms.
Ms. Samuel,
Harrington, or Mr.
Ms.
Waters,
Harrington o Mr.
and we can
Waters,
talk you through that
y le
and help you
hablamos,
determine whether
discutimos
you
y
can complete the
determinamos si usted
FAFSA
puede
as an
completar la
independent
FAFSA
student
como estudiante
or whether you'll complete the
independiente
FAFSA as
o
a dependent
si la
student
completa
and
como
whether you need to
estudiante
provide parent or
dependiente
guardian
y la
information.
información de padre o guardián. Déjenos saber.
Yes, thank you so much. That's a
Muchas
very
gracias,
important thing
Ms.
to
Harrington.
note
Eso es
as
bien
well.
importante. Gracias por compartir, Ms. Harrington.
So we are here to help. As
Estamos
Ms.
aquí para
Harrington
ayudarles.
said, both
Como mismo
myself, Ms.
yo,
Harrington, and Mr. Waters
Ms.
are more
Harrington,
than
Mr.
willing to
Waters,
assist you
estamos
with every step of the
disponibles
college
para ayudar en
application
cualquier paso
process,
en la aplicación
whether
de
that be
universidad.
FAFSA or financial aid,
FAFSA,
or building and
financiera,
finalizing your college list.
finalizando la
Our
lista de
contact
estudiantes.
information,
Nuestra información
both
de
emails
contactos,
and
correo
phone numbers
electrónico,
are
números
listed
telefónicos
below,
están
and we
aquí
are
en pantalla.
happy to help
Estamos
you
bien
and
deseosos
your
de
family
ayudarles a
with
ustedes y
any
su
step of
familia
the
con
college
cualquier
application
paso de este
process.
proceso de aplicación.
So with that, I'm just going to
En
see if
eso
there
voy a
are
ver si
any
hay
questions.
preguntas.
Ms. Samuel, I do have one. Someone
Ms.
asked how
Samuel,
they can manage their
pregunta,
account.
¿cómo podemos
When you
administrar
go
nuestra
to
cuenta?
FSAID.ed.gov,
Cuando va a
you have the
fsaid.ed.gov,
opportunity to
tiene la
create an
oportunidad de
account
crear
or
una
manage an
cuenta
account.
o
If
administrar
you
la cuenta.
received
Si
notification
recibe
that your social
notificación
security
que
number
su
is
número
already
de seguro
attached
social
to
ya
an
está
account,
asignado o
you're going to
asociado
go
con
to
una
the Manage
cuenta,
My Account
usted va al área de
tab.
Manage, de
That's how you're
administrar su
going to try to
cuenta.
look up your
Usted va a
username
averiguar su nombre
and
de
password.
usuario y contraseña.
If you're having any problem, you
Si
can
tiene
reach out to Ms.
problemas,
Samuel,
llama a mi
myself, or
Samuel,
Mr.
a
Waters, and we
mí
can
o
walk
Mr.
through that
Waters y
process with
podemos
you.
ayudarle con ese proceso de recuperar o administrar la cuenta ya establecida.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Gracias a todos
You
ustedes
will
por
be
ser parte de
receiving
este
a
seminario. Va a
follow-up
recibir
email with
un
next
correo de
steps.
seguimiento, lo que son pasos a seguir.
If
Samuel,
you,
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt one more time. And someone, it's
Interrumpe
a
una
good
vez
question.
más.
Someone asked where they find their FSA ID.
¿Dónde yo
It's
encuentro mi
actually the
identificador
FSA
FSA?
ID. It's kind of
El
confusing.
identificador
It's not a
FSA
number.
me
You
confunde, no es
created
un
your
número.
FSA
Usted
ID.
crea su
So your
propia
FSA ID
identificación.
is the
Su identificador
username
FSA
and
es la
password
combinación de
you
nombre de
created today.
usuario y
It's
contraseña
not
que
a
usted creó.
specific number
No
like
es
a
un
social
número en
security number
particular
or a
o un
student
número
ID number.
social. Un
Your
estudiante
FSA ID
estudiante.
is the
El identificador
username and
FSA
password
es el
you
nombre del
created.
usuario y la contraseña. Esas dos combinaciones crean lo que se llama el identificador FSA, un identificador.
okay. And for anyone who wasn't able to create an FSA ID today, or maybe wants assistance in creating one, we will be providing a link for you to sign up to work with one of the three of us in making sure that that FSA ID username and password, that you're able to create your FSA ID username or password. So if there aren't any more questions, I am happy to, this marks the end of this webinar. Thank you all so much for coming. And again, you guys can email us with any remaining questions or answers that you have, either in regards to the FSA ID process or the process of completing your FAFSA. All right, thank you and have a good day.
Muchas gracias, que tengan un buen día.